Hello, wonderful YouTube community. Welcome back to another video essay. I decided that for this statement, I needed to be on camera to say it because I think you really need to see my face to believe what I'm saying. So here it goes. My name is Poulimenakos. This is my YouTube channel, and I firmly believe that Man of Steel, directed by Zack Snyder, is not only the best DCEU film, but it is the best Superman movie that we've gotten. What a weight off my shoulders, to say that out loud. So, grab a snack, subscribe to the channel, take a seat, and let's dive into Man of Steel, shall we?
Superman was always one of my favorite superheroes. I think Superman is okay for anyone to like.
These are people who we aspire to. They're more perfect than perfect characters with flaws which we can recognize.
There is something iconic about Superman. There's an all-encompassing idea that there is somebody to stand up against evil and make things right.
Okay, before anyone says anything, yes, I realized that in my last video I said I would examine Kong Skull Island and Godzilla King of the Monsters. And I will. But while I was planning the Kong video, a distraction suddenly appeared in the form of the latest trailer for Zack Snyder's Justice League, and oh my god, does it look so good.
We live in a society.
He said it!
After watching that trailer a few thousand times though, I decided to revisit Snyder's other DCEU films, the first being Man of Steel. And dude, I love this movie. It is my second favorite DC movie behind The Dark Knight. It's in my top 10 all-time favorite comic book movies, and it is the movie that ignited my love for this character. See, I pride myself on being a comic book nerd. I've read them through most of my life, and I've seen almost every single comic book movie and TV adaptation. But there is just one character that I've never really liked growing up, and that was Superman. Not that I flat out disliked the character, I did watch the Reeves Superman films, and I've always been a fan of the animated Superman from Superman the Animated Series and Justice League Unlimited. I just never latched onto the character quite like I did with, say, Wolverine or Batman. I know it's played out to say, but Superman was kinda boring to me. I always liked the grittier or street level heroes anyway, so Superman fell by the wayside. But that all changed when I saw Man of Steel. Zack Snyder's Man of Steel is an emotional journey about a man searching for his identity. Zack Snyder's Man of Steel is a story about hope and wonder, even when it seems like the world is crashing down around you. And Zack Snyder's Man of Steel is a grounded and realistic take on a character that has been a Boy Scout for the last God knows how many years. There's a mountain of things that I could say about this film and how much I love it. But for this video essay, I decided to boil it down to two things. The film's focus on Clark Kent and its driving themes of heroism and hope.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Hey, it's me again. I just wanted to include a little disclaimer right here and say that every single thing that I say in this video is 100% my opinion. I'm going to say things that you're going to agree with. I'm going to say things that you disagree with. But you don't have to go into the comments and freak out and say,
Man of Steel did this wrong because in Superman issue, whatever, he did this, and
that's fine. You can believe whatever you want. You can believe that Reeves Superman is the best. You can believe that the animated Superman is the best. I liked Zack Snyder's Superman the best. So, before you freak out in the comments, film and TV are subjective. Never forget that. We can all have our opinions. Cool? You're not going to freak out, right? Alright, on with the video essay. Okay, before I get started here, let me just say that I do understand the notion that Superman may come off as more of a god in this movie than he does in previous incarnations of the character. And I also know that this aspect turned a lot of people off from Snyder's Superman. But, and again, this is all my opinion, to me, he's also never felt more human. And I think a lot of that has to do with the amount of time that we get to spend with Clark Kent before even meeting Superman. Now, Man of Steel is often compared to Batman Begins, and for good reason. Both films aim to take godlike DC Comics superheroes and ground them in our world. And the easiest way to ground these larger-than-life characters is to make the audience care about their hero's alter ego, their human side. From the moment the prologue on Krypton ends, we are treated to a half hour of nothing but Clark Kent. We see that he's a man who's clearly not Superman yet and someone who feels lost in this world. He's definitely got some heroic tendencies, but he does them in secret, immediately leaving whatever job or town he's in right after. He knows that what he's doing is right, but it's clear that something is keeping him from fully embracing that Superman side. That something is Jonathan Kent. Through flashbacks to Clark's upbringing in Smallville, we see exactly why he's turned out this way. Our first flashback sees Clark saving a bus filled with classmates from drowning in a lake. He pushes the bus from the water back to the surface, but several students witness his insane feat of strength. Here's where Jonathan Kent makes his first appearance, where he tells his son that he needs to keep his powers a secret no matter the cost.
We talked about this, right? Right? We talked about this. Clark, you have to keep this side of yourself a secret.
Despite knowing that Clark did the right thing, he fears that humanity will reject and persecute his son for the powers he has. And I can't even say I blame him. Snyder aimed to make this version of Earth a lot like ours, and you can bet that humanity would react in an insane way if Superman existed. So this version of Pa Kent is way more cynical than others, but he does make sense for the world that Snyder, writer David S. Goyer, and producer Christopher Nolan wanted to create. It's a tough pill to swallow, because we as the audience know that Earth desperately needs someone like Superman, whether they know it or not. But Pa Kent acting this way not only allows us to empathize with Clark, but also understand the emotional weight he carries on his shoulders. All Clark wants to do is be normal, to be like the other kids, to be Jonathan's actual son.
Can I just keep pretending I'm your son?
You are my son.
Dude, that line gets me every time. You gotta be made of rock not to feel something when Jonathan says that. But Clark knows he can't be a normal human, and Jonathan knows it too. So Clark as an adult abides by Jonathan's words and lives in secret amongst humanity. We don't even get our first Superman moment until 49 minutes into this movie, and even then, not 3 minutes later, we're back to Clark Kent talking with Lois Lane and staying with his mother, Martha Kent. I think this scene between Clark and his mother might actually be my favorite non-Superman moment in this whole movie. An honest conversation between a mother who wants to hold on to her son and a son who would do anything to protect the most important woman in his life. Clark tells Martha,
I found him.
Who?
My parents. My people.
and of course Martha puts on a happy face, but all she can think about is if her son is going to leave her now that he's found where he's come from. And Clark, my god man, this guy is just perfect. He calmly tells his mom that he'll never leave her, reassuring her as the woman who raised him. Can you get any more Clark Kent than this scene? It is so insanely endearing, and I can't help but smile as Clark embraces his mother. I'm not really going to dive into the religious allegories of this film, as I think others have discussed it better than I ever could. What I will say though is that I really love the scene where Clark goes to talk to the priest about turning himself over to General Zod, the main villain of the movie, who's played by Michael Shannon. I love how this scene furthers Clark's willingness to do what is right, like any hero would. Even though he can't trust General Zod, or humanity for that matter, this drive to risk his life for the planet that adopted him is on full display here, and it fully feeds into the theme's overarching themes of hope and heroism. Speaking of which, when you ask people what Superman's defining trait is, I'd argue that the majority of them will say that he is a paradigm of hope. Some might say his trunks. Those people would be wrong. Dead wrong. But I digress. People are entitled to their wrong opinions. Hey, in case it wasn't clear, that was just a joke. like I said at the beginning, everyone's entitled to their own opinions. What I mean to say is that out of all comic book heroes, the one who always acts like a beacon of hope to the rest of the world is Superman, and that is no different in Man of Steel. Contrary to what gatekeeping fans and film critics will tell you, Snyder's Superman is one of the most hopeful characters out there. Like I said before, despite having a more cynical upbringing, this version of Supes is still out there protecting the little guy and saving people from certain doom. It isn't until midway through the movie, though, that he finally decides to embrace who he was meant to be. Near the end of the first act, Clark discovers an ancient Kryptonian scout ship that crash-landed on Earth some thousands of years ago. Thanks to a special key that was found in the pod that he arrived in, he's able to access the ship, and an artificial intelligence version of his Kryptonian father, Jor-El, appears before him. Meeting his father for the first time, Clark finally learns about the history of his home planet and why he was sent to Earth. It's an incredibly intimate and emotional moment as Jor-El kind of sees his son for the first time as an adult, and Clark begins to realize who he was meant to be. Jor-El tells his son that the symbol on his chest is not an S, but rather it is the symbol of the House of El, and its meaning of hope.
Embodied within that hope is the fundamental belief in the potential of every person to be a force for good.
That is why Jor-El and Lara, his Kryptonian mother, chose Earth. While they really had no idea about what would happen to their son, they had hope that through Kal-El, the humans would not make the same mistakes that their race did. For Jor-El, his son would become an unbreakable symbol of good, one that every person will hope to live up to. See, Jonathan Kent always knew that Clark was sent here for a reason. In his human ignorance, he held on to the idea that someone with Clark's gifts was not sent to Earth by chance. And for a long time, that's all that Clark knew. And after Jonathan died, it kinda left him directionless. Now that he's met his biological father, Clark returns to the path first laid out by Jonathan, carrying the beliefs instilled by his adoptive parents while also embracing his biological heritage. He dons the House of El suit and for the first time becomes the Superman. And dude, this is easily, without a doubt, my all-time favorite Superman movie moment. Superman's first flight in this movie is majestic and awe-inspiring, with Clark smiling like a kid in a candy store and Hans Zimmer's fantastic musical score perfectly capturing what it means to become a superhero. You know, it's funny. A major criticism of this movie is that Superman is not heroic enough. To that, I say, did you even watch the movie? Because Snyder is nowhere near subtle when it comes to saying that his supes will do good things no matter what. Just because he's still figuring out who he is, it doesn't mean that he's not a hero. Man of Steel is about the journey towards becoming that unbreakable symbol of hope that both Jonathan and Jor-El envisioned for their son. Following the first flight sequence, Lois finally discovers who and where Clark is, and she point blank tells him that he can keep running, but she knows that deep down he can't help himself when it comes to saving those close to him as well as the greater human population. Now that last point comes to a head midway through the film, as General Zod, previously trapped in the Phantom Zone, has broken free and traveled to Earth, determined to find Kal-El and the Kryptonian Codex that Jor-El stole during the prologue. He tells humanity that there is an alien living among them, and while he does not know what Kal-El looks like, he tells the humans to surrender him to Zod. Now, I already discussed the church scene, again, really good scene to me. So I'll skip ahead to Clark again donning his family suit and willingly giving himself up to save the humans. How in the hell does this dude not seem like a hero to people? This is what hope and being a hero looks like. A man raised on Earth who knows he can't fully trust humans but gives himself over to them in hopes that he is protecting them. I love this moment because from here on out, we know full well that Clark, Kal-El, Superman, whatever you want to call him, will always side with Earth. No matter what Zod says, no matter how humans will react, Superman is Earth's protector, which is why Clark destroying the world engine and Zod's ship feels so earned. Zod tells him,
Zod! If you destroy this ship, you destroy Krypton!
But Clark, heeding Jor-El's words, realizes that Krypton's second chance does not lie with a dead planet, but here on Earth.
Krypton had its chance!
I jumped ahead there with those last few points, so let's backtrack to when Superman actually does hand himself over to Zod. I know a lot of people have said that this whole sequence is the exact moment that Snyder lost a lot of the core Superman fan base. Following a brief battle inside Zod's ship, Zod has made his way to Martha Kent's house and attacks her, hoping she'll give up the Kryptonian Codex. The minute Superman, with his super hearing, hears this, he immediately rushes to her aid. With Hans Zimmer's drums and horns engulfing the scene, Superman attacks Zod, unleashing a fury of punches and destroying quite a few things along the way.
You think you can threaten my mother?
Look, I get it. Back in 2013, I guess people weren't used to seeing a superhero lash out like this or cause this destruction. But to be honest, and again, I know I sound like a broken record at this point, but that is just not how I saw it. The Smallville fight showcased two specific things to me. Number one, don't you ever mess with a boy's mother, because honestly, we'd all act the exact same way that Clark did. And number two, this is Superman's literal first fight ever. He is not the seasoned vet that we've come to expect. Things will get destroyed along the way. I mean, just ask the Avengers. New York is completely leveled literally 1 year before Man of Steel in that movie, and that gets a ton of praise? But no. Superman crashing into a building is way too much for audiences. I just don't get it. You know what? I said I wouldn't get worked up. I'm not gonna get worked up. Let's just get on with this video.
Fine, I'm cool, I'm fine.
The main reason I bring up the Smallville fight is because it expertly furthers Superman's connection to Earth. Right before Superman gives himself over to Zod, he thanks Lois for believing in him, which on the surface seems like a throwaway line, but it adds so much depth to this iteration of the character. I said it before, Clark didn't know if he could trust humanity, but he gave himself to them anyway. But through Lois, he once again sees both Jor-El and Jonathan's ideologies come to life. He sees someone who believes that he can be something greater while still holding on to what makes him human. An unbroken symbol of hope. Someone who represents the best of Krypton and the best of Earth. And during the Smallville battle, this happens once again, as the military looks at the man who just protected a small town and realize,
this man is not our enemy.
No, he isn't. He never was. He's just someone who is trying to do the right thing. But that doesn't mean he won't make mistakes along the way. And that's the point. That right there. Superman is not perfect. He is capable of making mistakes, and that's okay. This is why I gravitate towards this Superman more than Donner's version or the animated iterations of Supes. A symbol of hope is someone who, even when he messes up, still fights for good, fights for Earth, and fights for us. Snyder's Superman unleashes everything he has to take down General Zod, and yeah, Metropolis is leveled as a result. I mean, what did you expect to happen? Two godlike entities duking it out in the skies, on the streets, on buildings, and even in space. Things were bound to crumble, but as the audience, we see that Superman is merely trying to stop Zod. He isn't trying to let things be destroyed. I guess, except for that one LexCorp truck. But at the end of the day, he is doing everything in his power to stop a man who is hell-bent on destroying his home. That's heroism, and that's hope. In that heroism, however, comes a decision that no superhero wants to make. What to do with a villain who quite literally won't stop until he sees the world burn. It's a question that was posed 5 years earlier when Batman took on the Joker in Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, and here in Man of Steel, it comes to light once more. While Superman was able to finally remove Zod from Metropolis and take the battle to space, Zod immediately takes the fight back to Earth, with the two landing in a train station. As Superman holds Zod by the neck, Zod unleashes his heat vision, aiming at a family. He proclaims to Superman,
"If you love these people so much, you can mourn for them."
Clark pleads with Zod to stop, but Zod, in ultimate desperation, says,
"Never."
And then, it happened. Superman killed General Zod, going against everything that Jonathan, Martha, Jor-El, and even Lois to some extent taught him. He makes the decision to end Zod's life. It's quite possibly the hardest decision that Clark has ever had to make, and it is not one that he makes hastily. He is completely broken by it. He never wanted it to come to this, but as a hero, he is forced to make the tough decisions. Sure, he could have flown up, and probably a few other things that a seasoned hero like Christopher Nolan's Batman would do. But remember, he is not a seasoned hero. He is just a man looking to prevent the destruction of his adoptive planet. His hope for a better tomorrow is all he has, and Zod would have destroyed it. You know it, I know it, and the people of Earth know it. He could have let Zod go, but that's not realistic. As Snyder himself puts it, I wanted to create this scenario where Superman is going to see those people get chopped in half, or he's got to do what he's got to do. The why of it for me, I go, if it's truly an origin story, his aversion to killing is unexplained, and it's just in his DNA. I felt like we needed him to do something, just like him putting on the glasses, or going to the Daily Planet, or any of the other things that you're sort of seeing for the first time that you realize becomes this sort of thing. I felt like if we could find a way of making it impossible for him, Kobayashi Maru, totally no way out, I felt like that could also make you go, okay, this is the why of him not killing ever again. This isn't your grandfather's Superman. In fact, it's not your parents' Superman or not even your older sibling's Superman. The decisions that Snyder's Superman make have real consequences, but even when it seems like the light in the world has been snuffed out, hope continues to push through. I love that immediately following Zod's death, we get one quick comedic scene between Supes and the military.
Are you effing stupid?
But then we end the movie back on Clark. It's another tender moment with his mother, where she says she always knew that he would be able to bear the weight of the world on his shoulders. Clark has officially embraced his superhero persona, and he wishes Jonathan could have been there to see it happen. The film then cuts to a young Clark playing in the field, as Jonathan looks on nervously. But thanks to Hans Zimmer's quiet Superman theme playing in the background, he knows that deep down, his son will be okay. This is the movie that made me fall in love with Superman, that made me understand the appeal of this character and made me do an insane deep dive into Superman comics. Snyder's Superman is like me, like my neighbor, like my friends, yet has these powers that allow him to help others and save the world. This world may be darker and people may be more cynical, but that doesn't change who Clark is. The work that Snyder and his team put into this film is absolutely mind-blowing, and I love every minute of it. This Superman is someone who inspires me to be better, to strive towards that ideal that Jor-El holds onto. He inspires me to look out at our grim world with a hope for a better tomorrow. That's what Zack Snyder's Superman did for me, and I will always be grateful for it.
Welcome to the planet.
Glad to be here, Lois.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for taking the time to watch my videos. I actually just passed 100 subscribers, and I am insanely grateful for every single one of you. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on Twitter at Poulimenakos. I've been Nick Poulimenakos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later, everyone.